Hello and welcome to In the Pocket. My name's Jonny.
And my name's Chris.
Two totally average bass players, and we're here to talk all about that bass. So as answering your questions at home, each week we take a look at the latest news, maybe break down some tones, or to give you the lowdown on the low end. Just realising that intro, in this episode, we are doing none of those things.
That's very true. We aren't doing any of this. So thank you so much for listening.
We will see you next time. We will explain in just a minute what we're getting up to this episode. First of all, Chris, how the flipper you doing, my boy?
I'm very good. It's birthday weekend. I've decided it's birthday weekend. The weekend starts now for me. It's Thursday for me and you right now. Mm-hmm. But at time of release, you will be on your way to me, which is very exciting, and it will be my last day of my 20s.
Oh my goodness.
Good
That's
Lord.
Disgusting.
This imaginary number, which is basically just a social construct, but here we are.
Well, it is a fact as well, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Yeah, it is my final day before I enter my 30th year on this earth.
Society's decided I'm 30, not
me.
The years on Earth.
I'm 19.
Well, I can't wait for the next, two months whilst I'm 29 and you're 30 for just, for me to call you an old man.
That's fair.
This time.
That's fair. I feel like an old man, but you wear slippers more than me. So I think that actually makes you the old man.
I wish I could get my slippers out. My slippers are becoming quite the thing on the internet, I'll have you know.
I have noticed. I'm not a slipper guy. Like, I'm one of these people. It's, when people say it's either socks all the time or never socks. That's like the thing. Apparently, I'm never socks. Like, my feet are always warm, so I'm like, get the shoes off. No, thank you. I am it's like Hobbit time for me.
Yeah, Gorgonzola toe boy. That's what they call you.
Wasn't ready for that. Sounds like a really bad Electric Callboy tribute band.
Oh my god, yes. Do you know what? Because I'm in the tribute scene, I absolutely love a tribute band name. Oh my god.
There are so many lazy ones. Like just name of band with the word UK at the end of it.
Oh,
and stuff
awful,
like that. Like,
awful.
Come on. I need a pun. based on
100%.
The band's most popular song. Like, I want a Metallica tribute band called Master of Muppets, and they're all dressed as the Muppets, that kind of thing.
Oh my god, yes. Or I love a themed tribute, Nick Cage against the Machine.
And that Ned Flanders one. Or are they an actual band?
Oakley Dokley are actual band.
No, Oakley Dokley are a real band. But Nick Cage against the Machine. I really want to go watch them. Annoyingly, I found out about them on TikTok the day after they had a show in Manchester.
Really? Yeah, they played Burn It Down, but I missed it.
Yeah. Oh, if I'd seen that, I would have literally been, I'm just going to go. It might be crap. I don't care. I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
But anyway,
100%.
I'm
off the
fine.
top of my head.
How are you? Go on.
Off the top of my head, some of the ones that I like, there's Oasis ones, two good ones. No Oasis, pretty good. And Oasis.
I think Oasis is better.
Yeah, me too.
Like, yours is good, like Nirvana Not. That's a good one.
Or, I don't know.
Foo Fakers. I think that's a good one too.
Ours are good, but, there's no, obvious puns, really. The best Foo Fighters one is, best one, but, the most obvious one that someone's taken is Faux Fighters.
That's clever.
Good.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm trying to think what the best one I've seen is. We have talked about this before. There's a Slipknot tribute band called Slipknot.
Yeah.
So NOWT and Not Slip as well. Yeah. There's a Rammstein tribute band that are very popular called Ram Lied. They're very good.
Okay.
But they're busy tribute band. Like, they do like proper tours and stuff.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else.
I think there should be a Linkin Park one, but they all wear suits and they're called LinkedIn Park.
Oh, I've heard the LinkedIn Park joke before, but that would be cool. Because there's
a tribute band needs to jump on that.
There's one called Hybrid Theory, I think are from Italy or something like that, and they're super popular. Like, they do big arena shows and stuff. And then I remember when a lot of people thought that band's singer was going to become the actual singer of Linkin Park, because he sounds exactly the same as Chester Bennington.
Wow.
But that's a whole other kettle of fish that seems to have massively polarised the internet, so we won't go into that. Linkin Park controversy, though. Actual legit controversy. Why is the bass player playing a P bass?
He's a Stingray boy
man,
normally, isn't he?
Stingray or nothing.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now. That's quite bad. But yeah, awful. Playing a P bass. Grow up.
He has had his Stingray out as well, I've seen. But
but all the new songs, he's playing it like a really. I can't remember what P bass it is, but it looks nice. But it's like, that's not right. What are you doing? It's like it's like watching Slash playing a Strat or something like that.
Oh, that's in a parallel universe.
Yeah.
I think it shows that they're old now because he's clearly matured. He's gone. Oh, it's just a P bass now, straight into the amp.
all roads lead to P.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah. That's the motto I live by, baby.
Yeah.
Shall we start the episode? First of all, I'm going to give you a lowdown what we're doing this week. But before that, I'm going to give you some jobs to do, audience. Some jobs to do. You need to go and follow us on Instagram at In The Pocket Pod, because for this episode, we are talking about Room 101. What things would we put in the bass version of Room 101? What would you banish there? So we put up on our story asking you guys to get involved. So that is going to be the main topic of today's video. We're also going to catch up with Chris about his recent success in big gig that he's done. It's a biggie. Stick around. And first of all, we are going to start things off by addressing something, some controversy.
Some controversy. We hot taked, and I think we hot taked too hard, maybe.
Oh yeah. Well, yes and no, I suppose. So thank you for people that have stuck around and returned again and not just been warned off by our last episode. Because, these things are always divisive. We ranked bass amps, and the internet was not happy about it.
No.
And boy, did they let us know.
Well, I don't think the entire internet was unhappy, but there were a select number of individuals who decided to let us know that they were very annoyed with the choices we made, and also the criteria for the choices, and then also why did we even decide to do choices anyway?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yes.
Absolutely. I would say that in terms of like positive to negative comments, I would say the balance was like for every one positive comment, there was probably 20 bad ones. But of course, people aren't going to agree with what we said. And we said that from the start, like, this is just a bit of fun. It's not the ranking. This is just how we feel. Yes. Okay. Some of the ones that we didn't know what certain ones were. We used, I think it was Tyler Spicer, excellent name, who's on YouTube. Go and check him out. He created that list, and so we just went from there. So some of them we didn't know. We didn't just include random ones. But maybe it was unfair to rank those ones. But we just went on what we've heard. And we've not played every bass amp in the world, have we? Have you?
No, surprisingly not. No, I've played a surprisingly small amount of bass amps, but I think it is worth saying. I will concede the point that we should have done a little bit more research on the ones we didn't know super well before we dove in, or maybe edited like a few out that we didn't really know much about, or maybe culled the list slightly. But as for everything else, it's just like, this is just a laugh. Like, please don't ever take mine and especially your opinion, Johnny. Please don't ever take our opinions as like the authoritarian, like, we know best, we've collected all this knowledge, and now we're passing it on to you and take our word as gospel. We're never going to be like that. This is not that kind of podcast. We literally say we are two totally average bass players. And that rings incredibly true, I think, on most occasions. And
people want to hear our opinions on things. Like, when you get to this level of popularity, we have a platform and we're talking, and people want to know. People ask us questions and stuff, and they want to know. So, we get asked about bass amps all the time. So we're only going to share our opinions. Yeah. Obviously, lots of people disagreed. Linking back into what we just said. One person said, "Don't review stuff you've never played nor heard." Fair. I won't trust your opinions on gear going forward, and I don't think I'm alone.
Oh dear.
That's,
well,
goodness.
I mean, considering 50% of this podcast's hosting team professionally review equipment, I think that's you out of a job, Johnny. I think you're just going to have to turn the YouTube channel off now. That's it. You've had a good run, I'm afraid, but tatty bye by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this one did make me laugh. Because they are a fan of the show, and that's good. They said, I listen to and watch all of your podcasts and I enjoy them. Thank you so much. This one is weird and ridiculous, and if it influences anyone, then they're ridiculous. And then they put in quotes, "I have a podcast and you don't," is the truest sentiment. No hard feelings. Being an active listener and fan of this show, I knew what to expect. By the way, if you put them all in the detail list, it wouldn't have made a difference. Yeah, there you go. I'll be listening to the next one. Cheers. Thank you.
I think that is a really good point. Like, please don't ever take us seriously. If we ever have to talk about something really serious, we will obviously be serious. But like, we play bass. You're probably a bass player as well. Like, don't overthink this. But I will say there's 2 points I think I want to mention as well. It'd be interesting to know. No, went a bit Australian then. Be interesting to know. Crikey. Don't say the other word that starts with C, which sounds great in an Australian accent. Anyway, it'd be really interesting to know the nationality of the people who were annoyed, because I think our level of like trolling was very British levels of taking the piss. And that doesn't always translate, particularly to an American audience. I think it can be viewed as a little bit too literal at times, which is fine, because British comedy is very, like, a bit too subtle for its own good at times. There's that, and then also, that's what I was going to say. People associate... Go on.
What Chris was trying to say there, everyone, I'll translate the northern for you.
Okay. Thanks. Cheers.
What he was saying is all Americans are idiots, and that that's what he was saying. So at him, at that guy on bass on Instagram.
Thank you so much. The other point
that was also a joke.
Oh, was it? Even I didn't get that one. A lot of people like have like brand identity, or they associate, part of them to a certain like company. Like it can be a musical instrument. Like people might go, I'm a Fender guy. Like I like Fender. That's part of my identity. I associate with the brand. The brand message is the message I want to give off. That's me. And they could do that with amps. Like people could be like, I've been a Mark bass guy my entire life. I love the company. I've had interactions with them professionally, really stand behind them. Like, it's almost like they're my football team kind of thing. And then when you get two idiots like us go, I don't really know much about Mark bass, I'm just going to put it in like C tier. I can see why you get annoyed. So I understand that point, but I don't want to dwell on this further. Thanks everyone who commented, because that video got loads of views, and I really appreciate that.
What should we rank next? Drop a comment down below.
Let's do pedal companies. Let's do strings.
And also, the last point I want to make on that is that, like, it's all relative. So, like, anything that's in the detail, we're not like, oh, it's crap. Oh, we're just like, we just don't have either that much of an opinion on it, or like, it doesn't rank higher than the things we put higher, like. Yeah. And my second point to finish it off is like, it's not that deep. Come on. It's a bit of fun. Isn't it? Come on. Anyway. Until we rank guitar leads, then until we do DI boxes. Oh no, that's genuinely something someone asked for. Someone was like, "Can you rank preamps, please?"
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, that'd be like,
that's not about. Actually. It's not about that, and like drive are like two next things you could rank.
Because you could be really controversial, because when you think about it, to some people, just quickly, to some people, the Noble DI is not what they want at all. Like, there'll be people who have never tried a Noble DI, and they'll plug it in and they'll go, I expected it to kind of like massively change my tone, to do all this amazing stuff, and now everything sounds amazing, and it doesn't. Like, the Noble DI, what you put into it is what you get out of it. Like, there's some controls and stuff, but there's some people, they'll absolutely hate that, whereas then they'll look at like the MXR bass DI and they'll be like, this is absolutely amazing, look at all these EQ controls I've got, look at all this, there's a drive option, etc., etc., and then the internet will catch fire.
Yeah. Like, I know the Noble is nice. It's not for, I don't need it. Like, it's no use to me, kind of thing, you know. But
no,
it's horses for courses. Is that the phrase?
Yeah, let's go with that. Why not?
Nice. Shall we move on to another segment of this podcast?
Yes.
Excellent. Chris, you have been gigging away with, now we can officially say, new band, hello, that you have joined as their bass player. Obviously, it'd be weird if you joined as like their triangle player or something, and like
I'm the new drummer.
You're having to pivot on this podcast. You just have to not mention it at all.
Welcome to In the Glockenspiel with me, Chris Horrocks.
In the Glocket.
In the Glocket.
No, that's a gun podcast. That's very different.
That is a gun podcast, which we will not be doing.
Yeah, tell us first. Don't think you've mentioned Dirty Blonde on the podcast.
No, I haven't actually, because I was trying to work out when to announce it, basically, and it kind of fell between. Excuse me. It kind of fell between episodes, really. But yeah, I am the bass player in a band called Dirty Blonde. They're rather good. It kind of came as a bit of a sudden one, really. Like, I got a friend of mine messaged me with like a screenshot of the guitarist's Instagram story, and I knew of the band, but I didn't know like the members themselves, or wasn't super familiar with. Like, I knew who they were. I knew I seen the name pop around like in Manchester and stuff like that, and I thought, basically, the Instagram story was saying, like, bass players around Manchester, like, hit me up. So I thought, okay, I will, because I don't really know what this is. It could just be, we need a bass player for a one-off. If we give you 50 quid, will you do it? Or, you know, all these kind of things. And essentially, yeah, they were looking for a bass player. So I auditioned, and we'll go into the audition process, like, another time, because, like, I think...
Yes, yeah. Different.
It could be an interesting thing to talk about, because I've noticed I've done 3 or 4 auditions recently in the last sort of like 6 to 12 months for various things, and every time I've not done the method I employed for this gig, I didn't get the gig. Not that I think I've got a massive like life hack or anything like that, but I've noticed whenever I didn't do these specific steps, like I missed a few out or something like that, I ended up not getting the gig. So I think there's
getting dressed in the morning.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, not saying anything incredibly offensive the day of the gig. So I do think there's a method in order to, like, if you do all these steps, I think you've got a good chance of doing a good job in an audition or an interview in a musical context. But anyway, did the audition. They decided they wanted me, which is very nice. And then there were a few gigs between now and the end of the year that were kind of lined up. And then, out of nowhere, we got asked if we wanted to open for a relatively small, unknown band called the Sex Pistols. Now, I know what you're thinking, because this is what lots of other people said to me. They went, what, like a tribute band? Or like a whatever? And I'm like, you know, like a covers band, or, you know, not the real thing? And I'm like, no, actually, the real deal. Different singer, but we'll talk about that another time. That's fine. At Glasgow Academy. Glasgow Academy holds 2,500 people, and the gig sold out in 5 minutes. So we said yes, obviously, because who's not going to? And yeah, I did the gig last week, and it went very well. It was a 2-band bill. It was
wow.
us.
Was it really?
Yes, it was us for 30 minutes and then Sex Pistols.
Brilliant. So that means that there'll be,
cool.
It's not opening band energy when the room's not really filling up and like everyone's at the bar.
No. We'll get to it. But basically, we played to a full room, ready to go. We had good lighting. We had like a 2-hour sound check. Like everything. I'm just not used to getting. It's like a real band.
Yeah,
I was handed a beer and wasn't asked to pay for it. It was amazing. Wow.
Like, no, please take my money. They're like,
please. I'm like handing the Scottish notes to them. Like, please. No one wants this in England. I don't know what to do with it.
That's legal tender.
Well, that's also not what legal tender actually means.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Wow. Anywho, you need to keep this on track, Johnny, because I will just diver off into the ether if we're not careful. Because it was a one very long and very busy day.
So how were you feeling? Because, when you go and play a gig that size, you're like, you don't know what the crowd's going to be when you get out there, whatnot. Were you like peeking through the curtain beforehand? Could you see the room filling up?
I'm going to sound not cool and go, yeah, we were looking. We kind of, one of the show reps kind of poked his head out and came up to our green room. Yes, our green room. About 20 minutes before we were on, and he basically came in, poked his head around the corner and went, yeah, the room's full, guys. So we're like, oh, well, that's good. Basically, in terms of mindset, like, I was not nervous, strangely. You would think you would be, and it would be perfectly natural to be nervous in those situations, but I wasn't nervous at all. For the simple reason, and it comes down to this, I think, I had practiced the living crap out of their songs. Like, a lot. Like, more than anything I've ever practiced before. It was literally the only thing I'd listened to in my headphones all week. Like, I was super comfortable playing the material. I'd practiced it stood up. I'd been practicing it actively trying to not look at my fretboard while I'm playing. Basically, just be as prepared as possible. We'd also just come off the back of like a really good sound check. So like I said, we had a really long time to get all the equipment set up. And basically, once our sound check window had begun, we basically told as long as you're done within 15 minutes of the doors opening, that's fine. And we didn't even need that much time. That was like 3 hours basically. But and we ran nearly every song in soundcheck because it was only a 30-minute set. So we just played through the songs and checked everything was fine. There was no rush. I'm very used to like having to be in a rush, setting up like a full wedding band in 30 minutes and then running off, coming back on to do the first dance and flying straight into 2 hours worth of material, some of it you've never rehearsed before, playing with people you don't know, all these kind of like situational problems. So I was quite prepared, I'd say, for the actual gig. So, and it went very well. We had a really good response. Didn't feel like we had to try and win anyone over. It felt like we had a pretty good response right away, which is really nice because one would assume when you play these kind of gigs, especially for what people refer to as like legacy acts, it's like people are there to see this one specific thing, and the one thing standing between them and that is you on stage for 30 minutes. Get get it done and go. Like, I don't want to hear it. But no, we had a pretty good. I would say we had a really positive reception, which is very nice.
Fantastic. Well, that's what you want to hear, isn't it? Because, and especially with the sound check, I suppose it helped that it was only a 2-band bill, so you had the time to do it. Because like, there's 3, 4, like it adds up, and then you're only getting half an hour, and then it's a line check, and whatnot, and then having that confidence before you go on. And I feel like confidence in how it sounds to you on stage, how your tone is sounding, like, can give you a massive boost. Like I remember playing this festival, and we had amazing response from the crowd, amazing sound on stage, and then for me it was like an out-of-body experience where like I was just on autopilot because I was so comfortable with how everything felt and sounded. I was like, amazing. Like, the energy is just is 2 ways here.
Yeah.
And you get that. And I'm glad it was the same.
Yeah, I felt very present, which was nice. Like a lot of shows I do, I'm like, I'm not present in the moment because I'm either thinking of, am I awake enough for the drive home after this? Am I, we have to be finished by a certain time, but there's 10 songs left. Are we going to line that up right? I'm worrying about a specific song 5 songs from now because it's really hard, and I've played it before and drummers have messed it up. These kind of things. Like I'm very rarely just in the moment, even thinking and looking at the audience in front of me. Whereas with this one, I was enjoying the room I was in. I was looking around. I was having a good time. It just felt nice and comfortable. I will say though, I want to talk about tone briefly. Not just for me, but also the Sex Pistols themselves. Me and you play with quite a modern-ish tone, quite bright, bit scoopy in parts, this kind of thing. I think me and you play with bass tones that work really well on the internet. And that's not a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all, but that's what I class it as. That tone in this massive venue did not sound as good as I was hoping it would sound. I was lacking. It was almost like I've got a hair on my microphone. It's annoying me. I was like, what this bass tone needs is just loads of 600 hertz, loads of 400 hertz, like just all that kind of woolly mid range and. Just too much treble. Like, just I've since gone home and taken like a high pass and just killed everything above 2K on my bass tone because all when we did the sound check, I didn't have any in ears or earplugs in, and all I could hear was the pick attack hitting the back wall and coming back and hitting me, and it just there was no low end. I could see the house engineer scrambling and EQing things and stuff, and I was thinking. That's good because they were on it and it sounded good. But I don't want to give someone a bass tone where they have to go, oh no, and they have to start moving things. I want them to just go, turn it up and go, yeah, it's pretty good. And then just very basic tweaks. So, bit of homework for me, really. And you had your hand up. Do you want to ask a question first?
I was just going to say a bit of advice from me there in that situation is buy a bass amp from Mark Bass. That's what you should have done here.
That was the issue. Well, actually, what the audience were hearing was a capture of an SVT. Ooh, controversial.
In the S tier VT.
Oh no, S for shit in the front of house. But also, though, the reason why this became even more apparent was sound checking before us was obviously the Sex Pistols, and their bass tech was playing a little bit. And when they played the bass isolated, I'd just like to clarify, by the way, P bass, super bassman. That was it.
Straight in?
Straight in. I saw a tuner on the floor. That was it. And when I heard it on its own, also, I saw a mic on the cab. But I think there was a DI as well. So I think they were taking like 2 signals.
They're taking both. For that size venue, etc., they probably would have done both.
But when I heard it on its own, I was like, oh, that sounds a bit weird. Like, it was really, like, woofy, maybe. Like, there was just...
oh, my God. That is so weird. I was like, what adjective is he going to come out with now?
Yeah.
What weird music adjective? And I was going to say barky, and then you said woofy.
Close enough.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to... I'm trying to explain a way to sort of like describe it to you and the listener and stuff like that. It was just... To my ears, there was loads of low mids. Like, there was loads of that sort of like 200 to 500. You know, the place where when you're at home, you normally just go, nah, and you cut that a little bit, or there was loads of that, and there wasn't really a lot of treble. There was none of this, like, there was none of this percussive sound you get from the strings hitting your fingers hitting the strings. I don't know how old the strings were. I can't imagine they were super old. Maybe they were actually. But anyway, on its own, really didn't like it. And then when the drums, because there's only three instruments. There's drums, guitar, bass. There's no tracks, no nothing. When it all started and it kicked in, it just sounded perfect. Like, I cannot begin to explain how good that band sounded. Like, the guitars had this really bitey mid-range, not too bright, almost no low end. Drums and snare sounded really good, and the bass just sat perfectly on top of the kick drum and filled in that gap, but then also was sort of underneath and in the guitar, but ended, the high range of the bass ended way before the guitar. There was no, like, hiss or anything like that, no sizzle, you know, that sort of like 10k sizzle you get. Like, that, none of that was there. Obviously, there was stuff the front of house was doing, obviously. But as soon as I heard that bass tone, I thought, that is how you do it. Like, that is the sound you want for this kind of thing. And it sounded so good. Like, you can see videos on YouTube, and I know it's like phone audio, so it's not really the same, but you can still hear, even just on a phone, that it sounds really good. Like, it was a one of the best mixed gigs, because we watched the set from the audience as well at the end. One of the best mixed concerts I've ever heard, hands down.
Nice. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, and that just shows engineers that know what they're doing, and bands that have been around for a long time and having really nailed it over time, like with each other's gear, working together, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. It was all very, like, well oiled.
And, you know, we say it time and time again, sometimes the tones that sound really good isolated don't work in a mix. I recently used my Ashdown Rootmaster, and I was using the drive on it, and we've both said it before, we don't love Ashdown drive, triple shot, yes, love that, but the drives on the Pro DI and the amps, not quite for us. They're a bit woofy, I'd say, a bit woolly sounding, those drives, not like the more modern ones. But at band practice, put it on, sounded great, you know. It was filling this gap that I myself, when hearing an isolated tone, don't really look for, but in the band mix, awesome.
And have you done any playing? Because me and you are a big fan of the shape button. Have you done much with the shape button off?
No, I actually haven't.
I think we should both go away and see how we find in a mix. So we don't even listen to it solo. Don't bother. Like, get a drum track going in Logic or whatever. Get some guitars and things like that, and let's both do a bit of an A/B of being like, play the same part, track it with the shape on, and then shape off, and see how you actually feel. Because remember, like, I think as a bass player, what we sound like soloed, unless we are playing unaccompanied, is completely irrelevant. Like, it does not matter what I sound like on my own, because I am not playing on my own. The listener doesn't hear me on my own. It's different with, like, bands that have predominantly, like, a lot of bass as, like, the forefront, or lots of bass intros, like maybe Tool and stuff like that. But for, like, a rock ensemble where you're playing with other instruments, it's about what you sound like with everyone else. Because if you're super scooped, like, the treble bit's too trebly, it's too much, so they're going to turn that down straight away. And then there's all this low end, which is fantastic, but you might be getting in the way of the kick drum. And then you've got this huge frequency spectrum from, like, 200 hertz all the way up to, like, all the way up from, like, 200 hertz to 2000 hertz, which is a massive frequency spectrum. Like, I know it doesn't sound like a lot in terms of numbers, but it's huge. And you're just not there. Like, that's our bit. That's where we live. That's where we need to sort of be sitting and you know, supporting the other instruments. And I don't think... don't get me wrong, it still sounded really good. Like, I had friends who were at the gig who said it sounded amazing, we could hear the bass really clearly. And that's obviously great. But I came away from that gig going, I need to do something about this, because I think it's a bit too... I've mixed it to what sounds good. Headphones, at home... you know, Instagram Reels, all these kind of things, like what sounds good on that. And then I've got to this huge space with, like, a balcony and all that sort of stuff, and gone, can't hear me. You can feel me, but you can't hear me. And that's not really what I want.
That's Chris's motto, everyone. Felt, not heard.
You can feel felt and not heard.
For me, it's the other way around.
Well,
it's a problem. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's interesting because I'm kind of in that middle ground where obviously we want the whole band to sound good, but especially for the Nirvana stuff, there's loads of isolated bass parts in like verses where it's just bass, and like the tones differ quite a lot album to album, I feel, with Nirvana stuff. Like some stuff is like a rat, you know, and like really distorted. Some stuff is like super clean. And I do just try and go for one sound, you know, for the band.
It's a lot of work if you're jumping between like album tone sounds and stuff like that.
Not bothering with that.
The Dirty Blonde material is like that as well. There's lots of bits where it's just bass playing with drums. You know, their biggest song, like in terms of streams, starts with bass. You know, they've got
hell yeah, it does.
Hell yeah, it does. Not my doing. Can't take any credit for that. But there's loads of bits where like the bass needs to be there. It can't be like this scoopy sound. It needs to be audibly present. So I need to do a bit of a workaround, methinks, a bit of homework for whenever I have time, because I don't have time.
Never, ever, ever.
No.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad you had an amazing time.
Thank you very much.
Well, before we finish off there, a talk, because you were going into you were playing a real amp for that gig.
I was. Excuse me, sorry. I think maybe I've got a cold, who knows. I brought an amp. I brought like a big boy amp. I brought the Rootmaster. I brought the Rootmaster 500 with an Ashdown 410. And it was massive. It sounded great. Like I said, I probably should have had a go at maybe playing without the shape, maybe turning the shape off, and then doing a bit of EQ moves myself, unsure. But that wasn't going through the PA, bear in mind. That was just mainly for big stage volume. I could have gone through the PA, and if I have more time to experiment, I will eventually do that. But just for the sake of reliability, I was running through the Quad Cortex, and I was running a capture of an Ampeg SVT that I've used loads and loads and loads. It's mainly what I use for weddings. It's like kind of all reliable, rock solid. You need an amp sound, this just works. So that's what I went for. So now I've got a bit more time, and I've got a bit more, I'm more used to hearing that sound in big spaces. I might do a bit of tweaking, but we shall see. Last point, I will say, I always thought Glenn Matlock from the Sex Pistols played with a pick. And I was wrong. He does not play with a pick. He plays with his fingers at 200 million miles an hour for an hour and 10 minutes. And it was very, very impressive to watch. He was doing the Jameson hook, basically, where it's playing with your fingers, but it's less of a, index, middle, index, middle. It's more of a two fingers together kind of, almost like locked in one place as like one big finger, and moving quickly with that. And I spoke to him afterwards. I actually spoke to him briefly after the gig, and we had a little bit of a joke where he said he's just saved a lot of money. Like, it's a cost-saving exercise. And then he mocked me for basically spending 18 years of my life having to pay for picks, and he hasn't bought a pick since like the 70s. And I was like, yeah, well, you've got me there. Can't really argue with that, can I? And maybe he doesn't change his strings either. So really, he's quids in when you think about it.
He hasn't earned a penny or spent one. So he's good.
How dare he? And he wore a cravat on stage. You can't trust a man in a cravat.
Oh dear. Cravat and fingers.
Dear, indeed. Exactly. But apart from that, it was very nice. And if you're listening, Glenn, come on the podcast, please. He's definitely not listening, but maybe he is. If you know Glenn Matlock from the Sex Pistols, tell him this podcast is far better than it deserves to be.
Hey, I don't know about that. I mean, the listeners from last week's episode might agree, but
exactly. Maybe like one. It was like his burner account, like having a go at us for not putting like Fender.
Yeah. Oh my God, you pissed him off big time. That's
time.
why he
That
was like,
explains it.
yeah, god damn it. Right. Speaking of pissing people off, this might piss people off. That's just what we're here to do now.
Might do.
We are now going to move on to our Room 101 segment. So for those that don't know, Room 101, I don't know the origins, but it is something where
TV show.
There we go. It is something where you banish things. You get rid of the things you don't like, you put them in Room 101. And so we are going to do our very own bass version today. You might have seen on Instagram at In The Pocket Pod, we put up a story for you guys to contribute some of your own ones, and we are also going to give some of our ones as well. Chris, would you like to start with some listener submitted ones, or should we do our own first?
Ooh, I think we should do our own first, and then we'll try and fly through a load of user submitted ones, listener submitted ones. So we agreed on 3 each. I whittled mine down to 7. And I'm not gonna do all 7, because some of them I'm looking at and going, just no, you don't need to say that. Like, there's it's not even that bad. So, would you like to serve, or shall I?
I think you've served it up nicely, so I think you go.
Okay. I'm just gonna go straight in with a slight level of controversy, and I do apologise if this upsets you, but again, this is just my thoughts. Comment
down below if it does.
I would like to. Yeah, thank you for the engagement. I would like to banish to Room 101 the soloed jazz bass pickup tone.
Ooh,
you know what? You know exactly what it is. It's in every demo of like a jazz style bass. They roll onto just the bridge pickup, and immediately the playing changes. Like it goes to like hand placement goes over the bridge pickup. There's like a massive increase in like mid range. It's like a lot more honky. Even the playing changes because of how the string feels in your picking hand. All of a sudden, it's like it's more staccato. It's got that kind of like burpy honk kind of thing going on. It suits kind of like jazz bass soloist kind of material, which is not stuff I enjoy as a bass player. Yeah, hate the tone. Just don't like it. If I never had to hear it again, I would not be upset. Not to be confused with like a bridge like humbucker sound, a Music Man, or even jazz basses that have the sort of like the stacked pickups, or the two single coils next to each other, like the Blue de Tiger one from last week. That's very different. I'm talking about your
single coil,
weak, anemic, singular jazz bass tone. Can't stand it personally.
Do you know what annoys me about that as well? Is when demos start with that sound. And I'm like, that's the worst one. Stop it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no one wants to hear that. I know people do want to hear that. I know. But you're right. It just does nothing for me.
And there are players that make that sound good. Like, I can't pronounce his surname.
Dibble. It's Dibble.
Yeah, no.
I know it's hard.
Yannick. No.
Gustalis.
Is it? I thought it was Guastala or something. No, I'm sorry, Yannick. If someone will know him, and I'm really sorry. You're an excellent bass player. You are far better than I will ever be. Your YouTube channel is amazing. Your podcast is amazing. I love watching your content. But when you go, and I'm sure you're great too, but when you go to that solo bass, a solo bridge pickup tone to do sort of like solos over the top of like a drone note or a loop that you've set up, in that context, it sounds great. But if you're rocking Mr. Brightside playing on that bass tone, like I reserve my right to throw a soft drink at you.
I do have an exception.
Get this away from me. It's disgusting. You've always got some ugly bass to prove a point. No wonder you're giving it away. It's hideous.
Hey, if I had I do have a choice in the matter, but I was tempted to say, no, actually, let's not give away. I will have it. I will buy it from you. It's
disgusting. Dan Electro, you're a fine brand, but this is just revolting. No, thank you.
Not gonna lie, I love it now. So this pickup soloed with the tone off. Lovely. It is a single coil, but it's slightly different from a jazz bass pickup, I suppose. It's not quite the same, but there are some single coil bridge pickups that sound pretty good.
For those listening, could you please consider watching this on YouTube, because I just bought a new camera, so I would really like you to enjoy the fact that I just bought a new camera. This is not the new camera, by the way. Just like to clarify, this is still the very old Nikon camera, but new camera in the next episode with autofocus. I'm very excited.
Wow. Yeah, and I was just showing the Dan Electro Red Hot Longhorn, which I'm giving away. So you should go and check it out on my Instagram and enter before October 4th. 4th? Yeah, I think so. Anyway.
Very good.
Let's move on to
to
my first one. Well, actually, this kind of is related to the Longhorn. I'm not putting the Longhorn in Room 101. I know your list is just this for the rest of your list, but...
Yeah, it was actually 7 entries of the Longhorn. Thank you.
I would put in Room 101 the 3-point bridge.
Yes.
Of course. The only negative about this bass is the bridge. It's cool, looks great, looks amazing. Look at that little Palfero bridge it's on. Oh, cool. But it's a 3-pointer, so it means intonating it is a nightmare. I don't know why brands... I know why. It's because they want to be vintage and correct, but I say, sod that. Just make it good. Make it better, Why are we bothering? Just get rid of it. Yeah? Like, ridiculous.
Wholeheartedly agree. I forgot to say, would you agree with me putting...
Oh, yes.
Okay, good. Because that's another thing I think we should say. Like, if we had a third member, we could vote on everything. But so far, I absolutely agree. The 3-point bridge, get it into Room 101. I never want to see it again.
Awful.
Okay, so I've done a few. Okay, you know what? This one actually takes up 2 points. So I would like to banish to Room 101 what I refer to as the explainer. Now, what that is the bass player who massively has to explain to you his bass parts and why he's chosen to do why they have chosen to do a certain thing. They have to tell members of bands that don't play the instrument what they're doing. They've got to post on social media going, this is the part for this song from my band. And it's always things like, it's like they've got to make sure that that they understand music theory. And it's relentless. So, for example, it'd be like someone's playing like a bass part for like a song that they've recorded bass for, or for their band or whatever. And they'll be like, I'm really making sure to highlight the third in this bass part, and then on the fill, I'm catching that dominant 7, even though it's a major chord, just to give that pentatonic tonality. And then I'm walking down to the 5th. And I'm using a 5-string for this particular thing, so I can get the 5 in the bass and really hit that low end before coming up to the tonic for the start of the chorus. Like all these kind of things, or like just that kind of stuff. Like, just respectfully, no one cares. Like, no one cares. You don't care. You don't care deep down. That I call that the explainer. Or people who go one step further where they do that, and then they have to walk you through every minute bit of like their technique and their tone, making sure like they've put a ghost note in there, or talking about hand placement. Or for this track, I actually decided to roll my compressor up to an 8:1 ratio because I really wanted to catch those notes and get a really consistent attack. It's just fart sniffing, and it just does my head in. I hate it so much. If I ever do it on an Instagram post, being like, "This is how I compose this bass part," I want to be called out, taken outside, and shot. Thank you.
Wow. You and I both know people like this, I reckon. Wow.
I know loads. I know loads of people who do this. I know loads of genuinely world-class bass players who do this, and maybe I can give them a bit of an exception because, like, actually, I would quite like to know why you decided to do this in this particular song, but I don't know, you're Michael Jackson's bass player. Well, bad choice, but it's like you played bit. Like, I understand if do you know the YouTube channel Vertex Effects pedal company?
No, I don't.
Mostly do guitars. It's a guy called Mason Marangella, like big name, big YouTube channel. He started doing these long form YouTube videos, kind of like what Rick Beato does, where he'll get like just behemoth session players, like people who've played on like the biggest songs of all time, be like some bass player in like his 60s or 70s who basically just did every big disco tune, and they'll sit down and they'll talk about like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? In terms of the part and the tone and things like that. That's genuinely interesting because that's a master at work. Like, I want to know why that person did that because they are truly an expert. I don't want people like me talking about it because I'm not bringing anything new to the table. I am just regurgitating what I saw someone else do 6 months ago, and I'm going, that's a good idea, and I'm copying it. Pack it in. You're only doing it as well. You'll find feel very strongly about this. You're also only doing it because I know how social media works. You're recording the video is 10 seconds long, and then you're writing a massive caption. So it takes like 3 or 4 runs of the video for you to read it. I know you're doing it because I do it, and I'm not going to do it anymore because I'm getting sick of it myself. So pack it in. Room 101. Tatty bye.
Wow.
Discuss.
Wow. Bass player wine tasters, essentially. Wine tasters of the bass world. Oof. I'm just like, box wine, Pinot Grigio. Nice. Done. Cheap as possible, please. That's how I like my basses.
Guinness, please. What do you think? Like, do you feel as strongly as I do on that?
I don't think I feel as strongly. I think there's like you said, but for the masters of it, it makes a lot of sense. But a lot of those masters of it probably weren't even thinking about that shit. And
no, they probably weren't actually. They're probably just like catching a bit of a vibe. But that's another thing as well. It's like I realized I do a thing where if I'm playing a major chord, I will do fills that have like the 5th and the 6th in it. And that's only because it's like a box shape. But I've realised that pretty much always sounds good if you're playing over a major chord. And then if you're playing over a minor chord, hit the minor 3rd and hit the dominant 7th. Like, just do those things and it will always sound a bit good. You don't need me to tell you every time. And also, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just playing. And then I'll just do it because my brain and my hands just know, we'll do that. Transition into that. It's a bit of it's a pretty obvious like Motown thing to do, and I've picked that up from learning so many wedding band songs because loads of them do it and pop songs. But my issue isn't that. My issue is the person who needs you to know constantly that they know how that works.
That can go in room 101 for me.
Thank you.
And I want to say for any listeners at home that are thinking like, oh shit, I don't know any of that or think any of that, like of the things I'm doing. Don't panic, because I don't do any of that. Like, I don't think about that at all, whether it's a minor or a major I'm just rolling with the punches of the vibe and working out melodically in my head sometimes, by ear, a lot of these things and what I want to do and often messing around and seeing what works in the moment, and I think that's a totally valid way of feeling the music and doing it that way. So
couldn't agree more.
If you are not into that side of it, that is okay. This is art. It's not meant to be one way. Right. Other things to go in room 101. This one, people will disagree on, but I think it's awful. Okay, and should be banished.
I'm so ready. Is it me? People,
yes.
GoPros.
There's a special room for you.
Room
in
102.
The bin. Yeah.
Right, go on. My body is ready. Hit me.
Coloured strings.
Oh, yes.
Get them out of here.
So right.
Like
spoiler,
black strings.
Someone has mentioned glow-in-the-dark strings as well.
Oh,
so,
wow. Yeah, well, you've nailed it there because awful.
Out of here.
Awful. Some people have like green string. I saw a headless Ibanez the other day and it was like a slightly green finish on it, and they'd put green strings on it, and I was like, that is the smelliest thing I've ever seen. I hate it. Put it in the bin now. If I had wire cutters, they'd be gone.
Smelly. You know what I want to see? I want to see. How do you feel about gold strings, though?
Bad.
Feel the same about that? Yeah, just in general. Okay.
Yeah, and like it all comes off, and it's awful. Like black strings, especially. I see so many people putting black strings on black basses to like stealth it out, and I just think it looks so tacky, and just it screams like my first bass, or like I don't know, like no pro is doing that. And I'm not saying like, oh yeah, but because I follow the pros, absolutely not. But it just looks awful.
I believe it has no redeeming feature. I couldn't agree more. Get it gone. Get it away from me. I don't want to see it.
Off you go.
I'm at a bit of a pickle here.
Oh dear.
I don't know what to. I don't know. I can't think of it. I can't do a third one. Can I? For my third one, can I just like say a few but not go into them?
Okay, just go through your list.
Okay. The drop strap. People who unnecessarily slap on songs, especially when they can't do it properly. I know I'm not very good at slap bass, so I tend to avoid it where possible. I'm so sorry, Johnny. That face YouTubers now have to make in the thumbnail to get people to click on it. There we go. Exactly that. Or they'll hold the pedal in their hand and be a bit like, that. Rhett Shull has just done a brilliant YouTube video about where he basically just talks about how he hates that he's got to do that now to get views. Hate that. It's not their fault. It's not fair. Don't like it.
Hate the game, not the player.
Yeah. Keyboard players who play too low down. Stop it. That's my job. You've got other things to do. Repost accounts. Not a fan.
Oh, yeah. Like, what's the
point? The whole channel is just the reposting other people's stuff. Not keen. The acoustic bass, not a fan. Get a bass ukulele. It's so much better. But my last one that I'll actually like say that I want to stick on. Skype audio podcasts. It's not bass related, but considering this is a bass related podcast, I feel like I'm allowed to say it. Those podcasts where there's been no care for audio production. It is just they've ripped the audio from a Skype or Zoom call, and that's the thing. There are so many free tools you can use now to clean up digital audio. Before we started using the platforms we use now, we had to do that with people. I know loads of podcasts who, unfortunately, because of the way their industry is put together, they have to do them as like video calls over like Discord and Zoom and Skype, and they clean up the audio, mix it, edit it, post it. There's no excuse. Stop it. When I hear those podcasts, and I've done it with guests that I've been really excited to listen to, I've just been 5 minutes in. I can't listen to this. I've turned it off. No, can't do it.
Well, wow.
Thus concludes my rant.
Thank you very much for that. I would agree with all of those.
Okay, good.
That's fine. Oh, mate, I've just had an incredible comment come in. Sorry to derail this.
Go on.
I was picking up my phone to remind myself of my last point, and I just had to come in. Someone just said the bass player is horrendous on one of my videos.
But you are the bass player.
Yeah.
Was this like an ensemble thing, or
No, it's just me.
Okay, well,
And they've said
that's
the
great.
bass player is horrendous.
The bass player. Well,
I would favorite it.
I would pin it to the top of the page.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Nice.
if it helps, their comment has probably helped you get a few more views. So,
100%.
Thank you very much.
Someone commented on the same video, which I actually thought was a pretty decent playing video, but whatever. Someone else saying, talks like a pro, plays like an amateur. Untalented amateur, they put.
Oh, that's quite mean. What video was this?
This is the Sandberg, California video.
Okay. Well, that's quite mean. Like, also, like, how many YouTube videos has this other person posted? Like, you know, do they do
-1?
Do they post videos as well? Do they, like, you know, do they play and post stuff? Like,
they do not,
because I'd love to see their videos. Do they even have a username?
That's a problem.
Anyhow,
cowards.
You have cowards. You have one more, and then
Yes.
we shall do some lovely listener submissions, which we've had loads as well. So I'm very excited to go through some of them.
The next thing that I would put in bass players room 101 is Paul Rudd.
You can't do that.
Paul Rudd is going in room 101.
You can't. I mean, I know exactly why you're saying this, but you can't put Uncle Paul in room 101. Have you seen Anchorman?
I've cancelled him. 40% of the time,
please.
he gets cancelled 100% of the time. You know, every time. He gets cancelled every time.
Go on. Everyone will know why, but please explain to the lovely people why you
bless
think
him.
Should go in room 101.
He is fantastic. He's excellent, top tier human by all accounts from what I know.
He's clearly a very nice man.
Yeah, but he's going straight in the bin. I'm sorry, Paul. You're done in this town. Because he's brought bass playing to the forefront of everyone's minds, and everyone, so that when everyone says, "Oh, you play the bass," it's just slop at the bass, man. You know, it's just that again and again and again.
As someone who has played in front of drunk people a lot, I can confirm I've heard that one.
So he has cursed us. He's cursed us.
Yeah,
for life. So
I for that, yes, but overall, how about we put him in? We tell him to say sorry for that, and then he can come back out again.
I want to meet Paul Rudd and get him on camera saying sorry.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that. Yes, please. Well, I can't let you put Paul. I can't let you put Paul in there. But can we put that bit of cinema history in there, but not Paul Rudd the man?
Yeah, I suppose. Well, why don't we? Who wrote it? Who wrote the script for that movie?
Because I don't even know what movie it is. They're going in the bin.
It's with Jason Segel in it when they're friends.
Well, that narrows it down.
What's it called?
I don't know.
I will find it before.
I Love You Man.
Yes, it is.
That's I Love You Man. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoever wrote / directed the crew on set that day.
Everyone's responsible. You're enablers.
The fact no one stepped in and went, guys, I don't want to upset you, but in a couple of years, 2 totally average bass players are going to, like, some guy from Devon's going to be really annoyed at you. Not from Devon. Some guy from Somerset's going to be really annoyed at you.
2 white straight men are going to be very upset.
Wow, what else is new, eh? Two guys
on their
from
podcast.
2 guys from the most annoying demographic. Right. Okay.
Speaking of the most annoying demographic, should we listen to some bass players moan about some stuff?
Absolutely. Right.
We love you. We love you.
Nearly all of these are good, so I'm gonna rip through all of them. Thank you everyone who left a comment. If you've left a comment and I don't say it out loud, it might have just not loaded because or you've left the comment since I took the screenshot. I took this screenshot a good few hours after we posted it, so may have just missed it on this occasion. But we'll be quick on each one. Fridge style amp and cab rigs. No.
Oh,
Give
come on.
over. Those are great.
Impractical, sure.
Yeah, impractical. Several people said violin basses.
Ooh. Okay.
All
right.
Bass forum nights. So I imagine this is like bass forum, keyboard warrior kind of things.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Ooh, yeah.
100%. Probably people who say like the pick or fingers debate, they can get in the bin. 100% straight to room 101 with you. Both have excellent places. We've also had a few people say pick snobs, fingerstyle snobs. Bang on, couldn't agree more.
I don't think I know a pick snob.
Yeah, you do. It's me. Headstock truss adjustments. Haven't we all agreed it's better at the body?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Wheel.
6-string basses. Ooh, controversial, and I'm agreeing with you. That high C has no purpose. Thank you.
Sounds like a talent issue, to be honest, Chris.
It was me who left that comment. Controversial one. Modern heavy distortions. The fizzy high-end dark glass Aguilar thing. Not a fan.
Okay, I wouldn't have put Aguilar in there. But I guess maybe the aggro is kind of that modern sound.
Yeah,
a bit more.
True.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we've shared our thoughts, haven't we, before? We do prefer like a punch drive.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. Lars Ulrich. Specifically for making the bass inaudible on the album And Justice for All. Someone doesn't know the Metallica history. I'll have you know, now I step into my domain, young man, that during that period of Metallica history, James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich had final say on all mix revisions. So actually, I know it's much more fun to blame Lars Ulrich for that one. It's actually James Hetfield's fault too. So which is annoying because musically, And Justice for All potentially could be their best album, but there's no bass on it, so that's quite annoying. No instrument should cost over £1,000. £1,000 should be the limit on all electric instruments. Interesting. I would love that. Don't get me wrong. I would absolutely love that, but I just don't think you can do that, can you? Like the costs and stuff. Eventually,
eventually, a Mexican Fender is going to be £1,000, like a standard Fender.
This time next year, probably.
Yeah.
People who think having cheap gear makes you a worse player than them. Absolutely, 100%. Straight to room 101. Could not agree more.
You just need a quad cortex
for £1,000. The bass 6. 4 people said the bass 6, by the way. Sorry. Oh, someone said Joe Dart.
Wow,
that is controversial.
Against Joe Dart.
I mean, a solo bridge pickup. This is an interesting one. The EHX bass soul food.
Ooh.
Never tried one. Heard good things.
I've reviewed it. It was great.
Okay.
Not so great through a live rig. That is my...
Okay, so that might be the problem. There's a few here I'm going to whip through. 3 people said Hofner basses. Someone said Alembic basses.
Yeah, okay.
The brand Stag overall.
Yeah,
they make good cables. I think the XLR cables are pretty decent. Glow-in-the-dark strings, very good. The pick police. I'm assuming that's people who kind of go, why are you playing with a pick? So we'll go with that one. I agree with that one. And the last one, this has done the rounds a little bit since good old Philip of podcast alumni. Basically, clip-on tuners.
Oh, I've always said about this.
So basically, Philip did a video where basically asked, like, is using a clip-on tuner unprofessional? I don't think using a clip-on tuner is unprofessional. The thing for me is, I don't want to hear you. I want the volume off when you use said clip-on tuner. And, to quote Philip on this, I don't want to hear, like, scratchy pots while you're turning your volume down. If if that's all you've got and you're in a pickle and you need to tune and a clip-on tuner is all you've got, it's fine. It's not going to be as accurate as like a floor-based tuner or something like that, but sometimes you just don't have that available to you. So I don't think clip-on tuners should go into Room 101. I think they've got a purpose, and used appropriately, they are just fine. However, if you do the thing on stage where you fret the 5th fret and you play 2 notes and then tune, or you ask another member to play a note and then you tune referencing it, I will either walk out of the room or I will never respect you. Do not do that. Clip-on tuners are £15. Just get one.
So I don't think they should go into Room 101, but I think they should go into one room, the bedroom. Not like that. That sounded really... No, not like that.
Wow.
Not
interesting.
Yes, I want... Stick it straight up my bum. No.
Clip that. Clip that.
Yeah. Clip on. Strap on and clip on. That's what we do.
Stop it.
Sorry. Let me get back on track. So I am thinking about buying a clip-on tuner for this room, because sometimes I'll just want a noodle and I want to tune something, and time again I'll be like, that sounds wrong. Or like, if I got a new bass, I want to tune it, I'll just be like, I can't bother to plug it in. I know. And I'll play a note on another bass and then just like tune my ear and be like, that's roughly in tune.
Yeah.
Because I can't bother to plug it in. And that's where it's great. Oh, so good. So
I've got an old Boss app that is a tuner. And that just tunes off your microphone. That's okay. It's not super accurate, but it'll get you through. But for those kind of situations, I think a clip-on tuner is arguably like the best move. Like,
100%.
You don't always want to have like a tuner plugged in everywhere you're going and stuff. No. I think if you're playing on stage, you'll be doing yourself a favour having an actual tuner. If anything, just for the accuracy.
And it's easier to put on and off. I know obviously it's not like you can just mute your sound very quickly, immediately. It's at your feet. It's not taking up your hands doing anything. You're not doing anything else, like it's immediate. You don't have it on the headstock. Like it's, for me, I'm not going to lie, it is a bit of an ick. If someone's using one live.
I don't love to see it. I don't love to see it like strapped on the top of someone's headstock. Truth be told, I don't love seeing my GoPro on camera on top of my bass. Like, I've had some pictures back from the Sex Pistols show, and because I filmed it on my GoPro while I was obviously playing the set, and my footage looks great, but I don't like what I see through that camera person's lens. I feel like I've done them a disservice having this not too big, but having this thing shoved on the end of the bass. So I'm keen to not have that. I think it distracts from the image personally.
You should just do everything, or like for a big gig, like when you want to see the crowd, do it from your amp, and the caption is just POV, you're my amp. And it's just what my amp sees.
Well, I might start doing that. It's just my bum for 30 minutes. Anyway,
then you'll stick your clip on, and then you'll be raring to go.
Wow. Well, on that bombshell.
All right, Jeremy.
Well, the grand tour's ended now, so basically I think we should adopt that phrase.
Wow. Okay. Done. Well, on that bombshell, it's time to end. If you want to rate this podcast 5 stars, you can absolutely do that on your listening platform of choice. It really helps us to do the algorithm to reach more people. So we definitely recommend doing it. And leave us a little review. Some kind words go a long way, a long way. So we'd really, really appreciate that. Help us reach more people, more guests. You can also help us by going and following us on Instagram and subscribing on YouTube. That is at In The Pocket Pod. We can get involved, suggest guests, and contribute to the episodes.
You can find me quite literally everywhere under That Guy on Bass. And like I said, I'm in a band called Dirty Blonde. The Instagram is We Are Dirty Blonde. I'm not. I'm Strawberry Blonde. But give us a follow, have a listen. You might like the songs. Lots of shows coming up. Very excited. And where can the good people find you, Johnny?
fantastic. They can find me at Jonny Dibble on Instagram and on YouTube. Please go and follow and subscribe. That would be bloody lovely. Once again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.
Bye.
That was very intense.
Bye.